Okay, today we're going to be fitting a Murchison snorkel on my 2014 WK2 Grand Cherokee. It's a limited model with a luxury 2-pack. As you can see, I've done a bit of work for the off-road and it's quite capable actually. I was quite surprised coming from a Prado 120 as to how good the Jeep is actually off-road, but she's very good. Already fitted on it. Up the front we've got the unique bull bar, obviously my UHF aerial, and this morning is a pretty cold Sunday morning in Melbourne. So what I've done to start with is I've just checked off, obviously the snorkel kit is all here, and what I've done is I've gone through the contents, just make sure before we start cutting holes in the guards that everything's there. It is all there. And then I've just laid out the tools they recommend you're going to need to do the job. Some of these tools I'm not going to need. I don't think I'm going to need an angle grinder. I don't think I'm going to need the chop saw, but put it out anyway. I'm actually going to plan for cutting the hole out with one of these, which is an air nibbler. It's neater, quicker, more exact, but if you haven't got one, you can actually buy attachments to go on drills these days that do the same job, but if you haven't got one, then obviously you can use files, saws, you know, whatever works. Okay, well I'm going to get the car jacked up, get the left hand front wheel off, get the guard liner out of the way, and then we'll have a look and see what we've got. Okay, the first stage, as listed, was to remove the airbox and take off the intake tube. Now the airbox actually just pushes down onto these pins. There's 3 of them, so there's one here, one here, one here, but you will find it's quite difficult to get out. What I've done is I've just given it a squirt with some WD-40 and they slide straight out, and obviously this intake tube would sit down inside just here and plugs into the front of the airbox. So that's just got some squeeze together clips that you push to get it out. The whole assembly comes out. I'm probably going to have to do something with that in the future, just purely to tidy up this hole here, where I'll probably put that back in, clip this back down, and maybe blank off the hole the other side. So I'm going to get on with cleaning this up, which is the first stage, clean it up. And then what we've got to do is silicone around here and then fit in this section here, which is for the new snorkel. So obviously that goes in like that. But it needs to be thoroughly degreased, and it also needs to be pot riveted in place. So I'll get on with that and I'll show you what it looks like once it's done. Okay, the airbox is complete. So what you've got, you can see there's a bit of silicone on there, but pot rivet it all in. So it's top and bottom, I'll pot rivet it from the bottom under here, and then a bead, a thick old bead really, all the way around, just to seal her up. And then obviously once that's set, she should be good. It's definitely watertight. Just in the bottom of the airbox, you can see straight in the middle there, from underneath, right where that pimple is, just there, there's a drain hole. You might want to block that. That wouldn't be particularly practical to have when you put a snorkel on. Likewise, these 2 holes here, when we put that back together, we're going to seal those up with silicone as well, just so that there's no chance of water getting in from under the airbox when your water level comes up that high. Okay, so next thing is to, I've cleaned the guard down, and I want to get obviously all of the dirt and muck off. The car was pretty clean, but obviously you can see it's not perfect. So clean the guard, because obviously once you've got your snorkel on there, any dirt behind it's going to stay there. So I've cleaned it up to start with. I'm going to get it jacked up now, get the wheel off, get the inner guard liner out, and then we'll start lining up for cutting the holes. Okay, so I've put the template on the guard, and what it says to do is to ensure the body lines line up. Now, as far as I'm aware, and hopefully I'm right here, the body line obviously is here, which they've drawn a line on, and it meets both ends. So it's just to make sure that the actual template's square. And then they've done the same thing here. There's another body line, and they've drawn it up. The body line actually fades away here because of the wheel arch, but actually quite clever because they've put the wheel arch in as well, so you can run that, that's fine. Top edge, pretty good. Down the back of the post, the door, it's a little out here, but I've chosen to make sure the body lines are right rather than the actual angle of here, because if I turn it to make that line up, then these body lines don't line up. So I'm hoping that the body lines are the important thing, not where it is on here. Okay, I'm going to get these holes drilled. I'll get the guard liner and the wheel off, get these holes drilled. Just for note, this hole here, you don't need to drill it if you don't have a wing repeater. So if you don't have a repeater indicator in here, which obviously on my model, they're in the mirrors, don't drill this hole, because that's to move the indicator which would normally sit in here. Okay, so I've got the car jacked up. I've got obviously a safety stand under there as well, just in case. Pull down the guard liner. Now, to get this out, you really do want to get yourself some of these, because all up inside the wheel arch, all through these holes, are these plastic clips that you have to pull the middle out, and it makes life a lot easier with these, or you're going to be replacing all the clips. Once you're up there, once you've got it all out, you can just, I haven't taken the rivets out the ends here, because I would have to break them, so I've just folded the guard liner down. But what we're looking for is this loom here, which originally was attached here. You need to pull it back, and you need to zip tie it to this brace. Just out the way, I haven't trimmed these off yet. And then it tells you to trim around the plastic headlight holder, which is basically, you'll see I've just marked, that's the yellow paint, that's really where you need to trim out. It's just to give you enough room for the tube to come through this section here. So I'm going to get out there and trim that out with a hacksaw, and I'll show you what it's like when it's done. Okay, so she's trimmed out, so that's kind of what you're looking for. You can see I've just trimmed around there, just give you some room to get in there. So now we can put the pipework in. Just for as a comment, this, probably saw this laying down, this stuff's up inside the guard, up inside here. We might have to trim that down or fold it or something, because I don't know if there's going to be room to get it back in there. Okay, next part, I've trimmed out the hole. It's pretty rough, but I'm not too fussed about that as long as it doesn't rust. So I've put some sound deadener around it, a couple of coats. These holes, which are the ones that hold the snorkel on, my advice to you is you come with pretty big washers. I would be drilling them out, the nuts are 5mm, I'd be drilling them out to 8mm, gives you a little bit of room to move things around, because it's very, very difficult to line up. I've already tried. So yeah, I'm going to get it lined up now and get it connected, and I'll show you the next result. Okay, after much battling, we got the snorkel mounted. I've also routed it underneath, and I've trimmed it around behind the light, zip tied it all in place. I've put this bag back up in there. It's all back in as it should be. We'll get the guard liner back in and see how we go. Just for reference, the snorkel itself, bit of a poor design. Other snorkels I've fitted in the past that have actually got studs on the back. Makes life a lot easier just putting a nut onto a stud than trying to line up a bolt into a captive hole on the actual snorkel. It's a lot of messing around and very difficult to access. Would have been a lot better if it had studs on it, just a note. So we got the snorkel fitted there. A couple of holes have to be drilled just inside here, and you got 2 bolts and then 2 pot rivets, but yeah, that's all good. It's quite nice. Fits, follows the body line nicely. Airbox all back in. What I've done with this is I've just siliconed it in across the bottom and just clips the rubber back in. So I mean, yeah, it's going to allow water if you get water over the headlights, but really it's going to come in anyway, come through the grille, so makes no odds, just tidies it up. Rating out on this kit, a couple of things I don't like. Really not enough room to get the cover back on, not unless you cut out a hell of a lot. Give you some idea how much we're talking. This is the plate that goes in. You can see how thick it is. Well, you ain't going to take that much out, it's just not happening. So it's going to have to be like that. That's just how it'll have to be. Don't suppose it'll matter. All in all, it's not a bad kit. There are a few issues with it, things I'd do differently. I would have definitely put studs on. Other than that, quality wise, it's not bad. Thanks for watching.